This time of year always feels full of pressure. Everyone's always talking about their New Year's resolutions, their big plans, their transformative goals for 2025, and I honestly do not think that you need another huge list of resolutions that you will have totally abandoned and forgotten about probably by mid-January. I don't think that you need a plan that fails to account for the messy reality of being a person, of being a human, of having a life. I think what we all need is a vision, a future to care about, a future to look forward to, a future that we are truly, really invested in, that we want more than anything else. And so that's what I want to talk about today. How to create a vision for a better future that can keep you moving forward on good days and on bad days. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I only fully realized this recently, but the single most important thing that helped me escape a situation of financial instability and abuse was this idea of having a vision. And at the time, it was terrifying, of course. It seemed impossible to achieve, but I dreamed of a better future for myself. I wanted it more than anything else I had ever wanted before, and I let that be the driving force behind everything that I did, every decision that I made. Every opportunity that I took was guided by that vision of a different life. That vision got me through college on a full-ride scholarship. It kept me going when everything felt impossible. It gave me the courage to make hard choices, to take risks, to believe that I deserved better. And I have the immense freedom and privilege now of my vision having evolved from just an improvement on survival. Now it's about creating something sustainable and beautiful. It's living in a house that I own with my partner and the friends that I love. It's having a garden with fruit trees and a dedicated studio to paint in. It's never having to think twice about turning up the heat when it gets cold, or even just something like looking at the price of the nice cheese that I like at the grocery store. But most importantly, it's about who I want to become. The person in that future isn't just someone who achieved a list of goals. She's someone who built something sustainable. She created security, not just for herself, but for the people that she cares about. She has the emotional and physical space to create without fear. She's confident in her skin. She isn't afraid of being vulnerable. And she takes actions consistently to get what she wants in life. Your vision doesn't need to be elaborate. It probably shouldn't, honestly, but it should be your North Star. It needs to guide everything that you do. All of your goals and resolutions, if you decide to make them, need to take you closer to this better future. But most importantly, this vision needs to be vivid and detailed, enough that it feels real, and you have to want it. I mean, really want it. There has to be like this hollowness in your chest when you think about not achieving this future. I think this kind of vision works much better, honestly, than a rigid set of goals, especially when you are dealing with chronic illness and anxiety and fatigue like I am. I really struggle with being consistent, even though I talk about its benefits all of the time. I think those benefits are real, but I struggle a lot with having a rigid schedule. It's just not a thing that my condition allows me to maintain. Traditional goal setting often feels just kind of impossible for me, and so I prefer a vision because a vision finds you where you are. It doesn't demand that you transform overnight. It asks a gentler question. It hugs you close and it asks, what tiny step could you take today that would take you closer to that better future? I want to invite you right now to think about what a better future would look like for you, how you might spend your time, who you might spend it with, what kind of art you might make. Don't just think about the material things. Think about how that future feels. Think about what kind of person you are in that better future. What skills and beliefs and perspectives separate you from that person. The specific goals don't really matter that much. Their value, honestly, really lies in the person that you become in the process of pursuing them. When you have a vision that really matters to you, that you are deeply emotionally connected to, the individual goals fall away. The destination can be reached from many roads. I wrote a book, actually, all about creative entrepreneurship recently. I would be promoting it more, but I'm kind of struggling right now with anxiety and a bunch of stuff. But for what it's worth, it focuses a lot on this idea of developing a compelling vision. Because when you're building a creative business or really pursuing any kind of meaningful change in your life, you need more than just a simple to-do list. You need a vision that can carry you forward, something to guide everything that you're doing. You need something that can handle the messy realities of life, the bad mental health days, the chronic illness flare-ups, the times where you step on a rake in your backyard, you stab your foot like I did a couple weeks ago, and you have to get a tetanus shot and go to the ER, and it's like a whole thing, and suddenly you're out of work for a week, and stuff like that. Stuff like that. Just, the unexpected challenges that inevitably come up in life. Something that I've noticed while teaching other artists is that the ones who succeed long term aren't necessarily the ones who work the hardest or have the most talent. They're the ones that have a clear vision of where they're going and why it matters to them. They're the ones who keep showing up, even if it's just to do one small thing, because they are emotionally connected to that better future they're building. That's why in the book that I wrote and the workshop that I'm hosting in a couple weeks, we start with this idea of a vision before we ever talk about strategy or tactics, because without this emotional connection, without this clear picture of where you're going, all of the business advice in the world won't help you stay consistent. I think at the end of the day, intrinsic motivation, a thing that you want because you want it for you. You want that life that you're trying to build, is way more valuable than extrinsic motivation. But whether you buy my book or join the workshop or not, I want you to know this: every tiny step matters. Every small action that aligns you with who you want to become is meaningful. You don't have to transform overnight. You just have to keep moving forward, even if it's just by millimeters some days, because that better future is built one small choice at a time. So, let's talk about how to actually work toward this vision, especially when you're dealing with limited energy like I am or other challenges. Having a vision is fantastic, but we also need practical ways to take those tiny steps forward. I think it's really important to not expect yourself to be at 100% all of the time. I think hustle culture has done immeasurable harm to people's mental health and expectations of their own productivity. One of the most helpful tools that I found is something called an energy menu. Think of it like a restaurant menu, but instead of food options, it's a list of actions that you can take toward your vision, organized by how much energy they require. If you're familiar with spoon theory, the same basic ideas apply here. You have limited amounts of energy, so you pick a thing that fits what you have bandwidth for today. And on my lowest energy days, when getting up, getting dressed, taking the bus to the studio feels impossible, I might do things like answering emails and comments on socials, reading a few pages of whatever business or personal development book I'm working through, chatting with folks on my Discord server, brainstorming ideas for content, and even just resting. On medium energy days, I might choose from heading to the studio and filming my painting process while I listen to a podcast or have a movie on in the background. I have been watching a lot of Dimension 20 for a couple of years now. I might also write an outline for a video or do some pencil sketches, or go out and take reference photos even if I'm able to travel. Maybe I'll do some video editing that I have to do, or I'll clean and organize my studio. And on unfortunately rare high energy days, I might do things like record a whole video like I am today, or spend a whole day painting and filming, or working on designing a new digital product, or creating multiple pieces of content that I can kind of schedule out. The beauty of this system is that it removes the need to perform at a specific level consistently every day. Instead of beating yourself up over not having enough energy to tackle your big goals, you can look at your menu and pick something that matches where you're at right now. When you're working toward a vision, consistency matters more than intensity. Those tiny actions on low energy days, they add up. They matter. They're moving you forward just as surely as the big leaps that you make on your good days. And when you work toward a vision, instead of regular goals, your vision can evolve as you do. As you take these small steps forward, as you learn more about yourself and what you truly want out of life and your art, your vision might shift and change. And that's not failure, that's growth. It's okay to want something different than you used to want before. There's nothing wrong with that. When I first started sharing my art online, my vision was much more focused on traditional markers of success, subscriber counts, viral videos, that kind of thing. But as I've grown and dealt more with my chronic illness, my vision has become much more about sustainability and meaningful connection, how I can create a business that fits my lifestyle, that suits me, and that I don't have to put, myself into a role that doesn't fit. I used this approach of an energy menu while I was writing my book. Some days I could write for hours, diving deep into complex topics about creative business and marketing and entrepreneurship, and other days I could barely string 2 sentences together. I think my record was writing nothing for a week and then writing 35 pages on one day, and I don't know how I did that. I'm really confused. But I had my menu of options, and I knew that even on my worst days, I could do something small that would bring me closer to completing that project, like adding page numbers manually to the book because I was designing it in Adobe XD, which you're not really supposed to design books in, but I did it anyway. But this is what I mean when I say that a vision finds you where you are. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion or giving into hustle culture. It's about doing what you can handle consistently, as much as you are able. But speaking of small choices that add up to something bigger, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. When I first started sharing my art online, one of the smallest but most impactful steps that I took was creating a professional website. It gave me a home base for my work that I actually owned and controlled. And Squarespace made the process incredibly simple, even when I was completely overwhelmed by all of the technical aspects of building a creative business. Whether you're just interested in sharing your art via a portfolio or you want to start selling your work via an online store, Squarespace has all of the tools that you need to build a beautiful, professional website. Their templates are designed to make your work look incredible, and their built-in marketing tools like email marketing help you grow your audience and sell your work with confidence. When it comes to having a home for everything that you do online, there is truly no platform easier to use and more versatile than Squarespace. When you're ready to give it a try, go to squarespace.com/Kelsey Rodriguez and use my code Kelsey Rodriguez in all caps for 10% off your first order of a website or domain. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry that I was on a break for so long, but I'm back now, so that's great, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.